Compensation discussions in strong community banks are usually uneventful. Performance is reviewed, metrics are compared with expectations, peer data is referenced, and adjustments are considered. The process feels disciplined. Most years it is. I was sitting in a compensation committee meeting where earnings had exceeded expectations. Return metrics were solid, efficiency had improved, and growth had been steady without becoming aggressive. The committee wasn't debating whether the year had been successful. It clearly had. Bonuses were discussed. The numbers fell within established ranges. The conversation was moving toward conclusion when one director looked up from the packet and asked, "Remind me, how much of this incentive weighting is tied to long-term risk metrics versus annual performance?" The CFO answered without hesitation. "Most of it is annual." There was a brief nod around the table. Someone turned the page. The discussion shifted to peer comparisons. A few notes were written in the margins, and the meeting continued. The question never came back. I've thought about that meeting often, not because anyone disagreed, because no one did. The structure wasn't controversial. It had simply become familiar. Compensation plans rarely change all at once. Weightings shift, benchmarks evolve, new measures are added, and older ones quietly disappear. Year by year, the architecture changes almost without anyone noticing. So does the message it sends. A senior executive once told me he had become reluctant to recommend investments that would temporarily reduce annual earnings, even when he believed they would strengthen the institution over time. "We'll get there eventually," he said. "I just know what gets measured first." I don't believe anyone designed the incentive plan with that outcome in mind, but that was the outcome he experienced. In another committee meeting, directors spent several minutes talking about stewardship. They spoke about building a bank that could remain strong for decades, protecting capital, developing future leaders, and thinking beyond the next quarter. Near the end of the meeting, one director quietly said, "We talk a lot about durability," and then he glanced back toward the compensation schedule. "But we pay for performance." No one challenged the observation. No one needed to. The meeting adjourned a few minutes later. Compensation doesn't only influence behavior. It explains, often more clearly than any strategic presentation, what an institution chooses to reward. Not because directors say so, because people naturally organize their attention around the things that carry consequence. A compensation chair once described it to me in a way I've never forgotten. He said, "We don't have to tell people what's important. They can already see it." That may be the quieter work of governance, not simply designing incentive plans. It's understanding the story those plans are already telling. What does the institution's compensation structure tell its leadership team matters most.